It started like most viral storms do, with one comment that lit up the entire internet. When ESPN commentator and media powerhouse Stephen A. Smith spoke out about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, nobody expected it to turn into a full-blown cultural debate. But within hours, it wasn't just politics anymore. It was about pride, respect, and how we talk about each other inside our own community. Smith, known for his sharp tongue and fiery takes, didn't hold back. During a segment discussing Congress and leadership, he questioned Crockett's tone, behavior, and the way she carries herself in Washington. He claimed her approach lacked professionalism, especially when confronting figures like former President Donald Trump. To some, his words sounded like honest critique, but to many others, especially black women, they cut much deeper. Because this wasn't just another media jab, it felt personal. It felt like yet another example of a powerful black man publicly tearing down a black woman who's simply standing her ground. Social media exploded. Hashtags began trending within hours. Stand with Jasmine and Respect Black Women filled timelines across X, Instagram, and TikTok. Thousands of people posted clips of Crockett's fiery speeches in Congress, praising her strength and saying Smith should have known better. Yet not everyone agreed. Smith's defenders argued that he was simply doing his job, offering honest commentary, not disrespect. "He's keeping it real," one fan wrote. "If she wants to be in the big leagues, she's got to take the heat." But what really poured gasoline on the fire wasn't just what Smith said. It was how he said it. His delivery came across as dismissive, condescending even. And in a world where tone means everything, that was enough to spark an emotional wave across the country. For Jasmine Crockett, the backlash wasn't just noise, it was personal. A woman who built her career on standing up to injustice was now being told she wasn't fit for her own role. And as the controversy grew louder, she made a choice. She wasn't going to stay silent. Because this time, the conversation wasn't just about her. It was about something much bigger. Just when the storm around Stephen A. Smith's comments seemed to be settling, two powerful voices stepped in and turned the entire debate into a national conversation. On a new episode of The Don Lemon Show, the former CNN anchor sat down with Jasmine Crockett and MSNBC host Joy Reid for what quickly became one of the most talked-about interviews of the week. The topic? Why do some black men publicly attack black women? From the moment the cameras started rolling, it was clear this wasn't going to be a polite conversation. Don Lemon didn't mince words. With a mix of passion and frustration, he looked straight into the camera and said, "Black men, stop attacking black women publicly, especially when you don't know what the F you're talking about." It wasn't subtle. It wasn't diplomatic. It was raw. And everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Joy Reid, never one to hold back, followed up with an even sharper metaphor. She compared the situation to Django Unchained, the movie where a man named Stephen sides with the oppressor against his own people. "Everybody saw Django," she said. "Remember the character who loved the master more than his own? His name was Stephen. So to all the Stephens out there, understand, the master will never love you." The audience gasped. Social media lit up again. Within minutes, Stephens of the world became a trending phrase, and users flooded X with side-by-side photos of Stephen A. Smith and the movie character Joy had just referenced. It was savage, it was viral, but it was also emotional, because beneath the fire and the memes, the message hit a nerve. This wasn't just about Stephen A. Smith anymore. It was about something deeper, the disconnect between successful black men and black women, especially when they find themselves under the harsh spotlight of public criticism. As the segment went viral, one thing became clear. Jasmine Crockett wasn't fighting this battle alone. She now had two of the most influential voices in black media standing beside her, and the conversation had officially gone from controversy to culture war. But when it was her turn to speak, Crockett didn't yell. She didn't attack. Instead, she did something few expected. She got vulnerable. When it was finally Jasmine Crockett's turn to speak, the room quieted. The Congresswoman, often known for her fiery speeches and fearless debates, didn't come out swinging. She didn't shout or clap back. Instead, she took a deep breath and spoke with a calm that carried more power than any punchline could. "It does hurt," she admitted softly, "because I expect more and better." The moment was heavy. Viewers watching at home could feel it. This wasn't a politician trying to score points. This was a woman speaking from a place of real disappointment. She explained that much of what people see on TV or social media, her sharp questioning in Congress, her bold statements against injustice, is just one side of her. What they don't see, she said, is the long hours, the community work, the quiet dedication to the people who sent her to Washington in the first place. "There's plenty of substance behind what I do," she said. "And if anybody ever wants to ask, I have receipts for all of it." It was part defense, part declaration, a reminder that passion and professionalism can coexist. But Crockett didn't stop there. She took a moment to thank the thousands who came to her defense before she even responded publicly. "I will just say that I appreciate the community and the culture," she said, "because before I even had to speak, y'all had already spoken for me, and that means everything." Her words struck a chord. In that moment, the outrage turned into something else: solidarity. Crockett's tone shifted from hurt to hope. She made it clear that disagreement isn't the problem. Disrespect is. "I can take criticism," she said. "I can even take being challenged. But I expect it to come with respect, because at the end of the day, we're supposed to be building each other, not breaking each other down." The audience nodded. Even Lemon and Joy Reid paused, giving her space to finish without interruption. And with that, Jasmine Crockett transformed what started as a media attack into a moment of grace and strength. But while she was choosing compassion, the internet was doing what it does best: choosing sides. What started as a single argument between two public figures quickly turned into something much bigger, a reflection of a cultural divide that's been brewing for years. Because this wasn't just Stephen A. Smith versus Jasmine Crockett. It was about how America, and especially the Black community, handles success, power, and the way men and women talk about each other when the world is watching. For generations, Black women in positions of leadership have faced a double standard. When they're passionate, they're called angry. When they're direct, they're labeled disrespectful. And when they defend themselves, they're told to calm down. Jasmine Crockett's situation wasn't new. It was just televised. Commentators and cultural critics began dissecting the story. Was Stephen A. Smith holding her to the same standards he'd use for a male politician? Or was he feeding into a long history of policing the tone and attitude of outspoken women, especially Black women? Even political analysts on both sides weighed in. Some argued that Crockett's fiery approach in Congress might alienate moderate voters. Others said her boldness is exactly what Washington needs: someone unafraid to speak truth to power, even when it ruffles feathers. Meanwhile, Bill O'Reilly, a conservative commentator, unexpectedly jumped in to defend Stephen A. Smith. He called Crockett phony and claimed Smith was just telling the truth. That comment, too, went viral and added another layer to the story, because suddenly, what started as an internal debate within the Black community was being used as political ammunition from the outside. It wasn't just about gender anymore. It was about control. Who gets to speak, who gets to criticize, and who gets to be the voice of the culture. And in the middle of that noise, one thing became clear. While everyone else was trying to define Jasmine Crockett, she was busy defining herself. She refused to apologize for being loud, proud, and unapologetically herself. Because as she said before, if my tone makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's because the truth does too. Still, As the interviews faded and the hashtags started to cool down, the question remained, was this really about Crockett and Smith? Or was it about something deeper, a nation still learning how to handle disagreement without destroying each other in the process? Once the interview aired, the internet did what it always does. It chose sides. On one end, supporters flooded social media with love and admiration for Jasmine Crockett. They praised her strength, her poise, and the way she stood tall even when powerful voices tried to tear her down. Hashtags like "We Stand with Jasmine" and "Tata Protect Black Women" trended for 2 straight days. One viral comment summed up what many felt. Jasmine didn't yell. She didn't insult anyone. She just spoke truth with grace. That's real power. But not everyone saw it that way. Critics of Crockett accused her of playing the victim, claiming she couldn't handle honest criticism. Some even said she was using the controversy to boost her visibility. And Stephen A. Smith's supporters doubled down, insisting that what he said was fair, that he was holding her accountable, not disrespecting her. Soon, conservative pundits began weighing in, turning the disagreement into a political talking point. TV panels debated whether Crockett represented a growing culture of sensitivity, while others argued she was being punished for showing passion in a male-dominated space. Everywhere you looked, TikTok, X, YouTube Shorts, there were split-screen videos comparing their comments, dissecting every facial expression and asking who was right, who went too far. The polarization was intense, but somewhere between the outrage and the hashtags, something unexpected started to happen. Crockett's image began to shift. People who barely knew her before this controversy started seeing her differently. Not just as a loud Congresswoman, but as a woman standing alone against a tidal wave of criticism and still refusing to break. Even those who didn't agree with her politically began to admit she handled it better than most would have. And while the online world was still arguing, Jasmine Crockett wasn't replying to tweets, writing threads, or posting clapbacks. She stayed quiet, focused, composed. Because while everyone else was talking about her, she was doing something far more powerful. She was showing exactly who she was. But what many didn't see coming was how she'd use this moment, not to settle scores, but to send a message that went beyond politics, beyond media, and straight into the heart of the culture. When the noise finally started to fade, Jasmine Crockett did something that silenced even her harshest critics. She turned the entire moment into a message. Instead of lashing out or holding grudges, she spoke from a place of growth. In a follow-up statement, she said, "It's all good when you know you're walking in the purpose God has put on your life. I'ma keep doing me, and the world will keep turning." Those words spread across social media like wildfire. Because for so many people, especially young women watching, they weren't just words of defiance, they were words of freedom. Crockett had taken the harsh criticism, the personal attacks, and even the subtle sexism, and turned it into fuel. Her calm response wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. It was proof that you don't have to fight fire with fire. Sometimes, you just let your light shine so bright the smoke clears on its own. In the weeks that followed, she continued showing up exactly as herself. On the House floor, in interviews, and online, she kept doing the work she's always done, speaking truth to power, representing her district, and refusing to dim her personality for anyone. And that's what made the whole story come full circle. Because while Stephen A. Smith had started the conversation, Jasmine Crockett finished it, not with anger, but with clarity. She reminded people that disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect, that criticism can exist without cruelty, and that real strength isn't in how loud you clap back. It's in how calmly you stand your ground. For many viewers, her response wasn't just a political statement. It was personal. It became a reminder that grace is power, and self-control is the loudest kind of confidence there is. So while others argued over who won the exchange, Jasmine had already moved on, winning in her own way by staying true to herself. Because when you know who you are, You don't need anyone else's validation. In the end, this was never just about a heated comment or a viral interview. It was about something deeper, something America still struggles to face. Because beneath the trending hashtags and TV debates lies a truth that's both uncomfortable and necessary. We've forgotten how to disagree without dehumanizing each other. Stephen A. Smith spoke his mind. Jasmine Crockett defended her integrity. But what the world saw was a reflection of something larger. How quickly conversation turns into conflict, how easily accountability turns into insult, and how fast our communities fracture when ego replaces empathy. And yet, out of that noise came something real. A reminder that we can demand respect and still show grace. That strength doesn't mean shouting louder. Sometimes it means walking away, knowing you've already made your point. Jasmine Crockett's story isn't just about one interview or one man's opinion. It's about the power of poise in a world addicted to outrage. It's about a woman who could have gone low, but chose to go higher. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson in all of this. That in an era of division, the real revolution is self-control. So as the headlines fade and the next controversy takes over, one question remains. When the spotlight turns on you, will you clap back, or will you stand tall and let your purpose speak louder than your pride? Because in the end, that's what Jasmine Crockett did. And it's why, no matter what anyone says, she's still winning.